So joining me now is Tony Bernardo, Executive Director of the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. And it's been a while since Tony was on the show, a couple of years. I'm embarrassed about that because there's so much to talk about in gun grab news, I suppose, and in the gun rights space. So Tony, I promise I'll have you back on again very soon. I won't wait years before I have you back on the show. And one of the things I want to do here is to bring on different people from the different gun rights advocacy groups, because although the Liberals say this about anything, I really think we're all in this together. And this is a fight where, you know, I don't think it really matters what gun rights organization you're with. The Liberals are going to snatch your guns. That's just what Liberals do. So, Tony, tell us a little bit, for those people who don't know, what is the Canadian Shooting Sports Association?
Okay, well, we're an advocacy group for firearms owners, but we do a lot of other things like provide high quality training, shooting range protocols and procedures. And we do this right across Canada. We have members in every province and territory. We have gun clubs right across the entire country. And we're a nice, stable organization. We've been around for 62 years. We've got some conspicuous successes to our work. One was the cessation of the long gun registry, and the other one was the elimination of ATTs. And the Liberals have brought all that stuff back, but that doesn't mean we didn't get rid of it. It took years to do that. So, and there's more coming. I mean, we're still very active, but in the way we do things, we're conservative. We're behind the scenes, we're making the wheels turn, because that's how real politics gets done.
You know, that's what I love about the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. So you do all, I don't want to say backrooms deals, because that's not what you're doing. You're actually grinding away on the politics and policy matters to make real change. And as you say, you were instrumental in making sure the long gun registry was gone and removing the ATT. So the requirement for gun owners who already can only use their gun at the range to call some bureaucrat in a cubicle somewhere and say, hey, can I go to the range?
There was other accomplishments too, like the 6-month grace period. When your firearms license expires, that 6-month grace period was the result of work we did with Stephen Blaney.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things. We believe that a small win is still a win. And if you can make the environment better for firearms owners across Canada, it's worth doing.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, a small win is still keeping one guy out of jail, keeping one guy from becoming a paper criminal. And I think that's a huge win for that guy's family, or in my case, that woman's family. Tell us some of the things that you're working on right now, because we know Justin Trudeau's latest gun grab on hunting rifles, he's pushed pause on that. It hasn't gone away. He's just reworking it in a way that I think the Liberals think might be more palatable, but I think it's not going to change. Hunting rifles are going to be caught in this. So what is the CSSA doing?
We're still doing the stuff in the back, making sure that, policy documents are the way they should be, et cetera, et cetera. As you well know, we don't talk real time about the things that we do politically because that makes them not happen. Okay.
Right.
I mean, like politics is a real thing, and you have to do it right or it's not worth bothering with. So, you don't divulge your private discussions and things like that. But right now, I mean, you're absolutely right. The Liberals are bringing this back. They removed the amendments to C-21. Make no mistake, they're coming back eventually. They're going to try to do is they're going to try to take the hunting guns out of it or something like that, and then reintroduce them as if the sporting guns that were in it are somehow doing bad things.
Right.
Right. But of course, they did the 2020 Ordering Council, and here it is 2023, and we all still have our sporting guns because the Liberals can't figure out how to take them. You see the mass shootings happening? Well, nothing's happening. We still have the guns.
Well, yeah, well, there might be mass shootings happening, but I think they're sort of happening in Canada's big cities because of a gang violence problem that has nothing to do with lawful Canadian gun owners.
And nothing to do with black rifles either. I mean, they're almost never used in gang crimes. They're almost always smuggles American handguns.
Right. But that's a border issue that Justin Trudeau refuses to deal with.
You're right. And, you know, when you look at the track record of the various ministers, public safety ministers, every single year they pledge another $300-something million to increase border security to stop the gun smuggling. And every year, just like clockwork, they reduce the budget of the CSSA by $300 million. So they're literally giving it one hand, taking it on the other hand, and then proclaiming that they've done something good. And in fact, CSSA is grossly underfunded. And there's lots of things that could be done. I don't know if you saw the committee testimony where CSSA testified that 1 billionth of 1% of rail cargo is checked.
That's shocking.
1 of 1%. There's nowhere to check it. Apparently, there's only 2 depots in Canada where you can check rail cargo, and the trains aren't there.
That boggles my mind. And, you know, this is something that I think most Canadians don't know. We just assume, and generally it's true, that the Liberals are just making money rain from the sky on every government department and growing the size and scope of the bureaucracy. But the one thing that we really need, border control, to deal with people coming into the country, to deal with guns coming into the country, to deal with contraband coming into the country, to deal with opioids, poisons that are killing our young people coming into the country. And the Liberals are cutting the budget there. It baffles me.
Cutting the budget, giving them free drugs.
Yeah.
They inked the deal on Roxham Road a year ago, but they don't implement it for a year.
Yeah.
So obviously you must get some indication of how much value they put in that deal on Roxham Road.
Yeah.
I mean, everything they say is a lie. It's just, if their lips are moving, it's not true. You know, again, I'm not making this up. You can go back and you can look at the budgets. And they'll say, oh, 300 million. It's always 300 million. This has been going on since Ralph Goodale was the public safety minister. And we saw it the very first year, 300 million going out to help the CSSA interdict guns at the border. And the same year, they reduced their overall budget by $300 million.
At the same time, however, they seem to be willing to blow, at least according to the parliamentary budget officer, $800 million in their gun buyback program, which is an incredible misnomer because you're not buying anything back. You didn't own these things in the first place. And I'm sure, just like the gun registry, that number is going to balloon. I'll tell you, I asked the government for any of their financial analysis that they did on the gun buyback program. They couldn't provide it to me. They sent me 7 pages of largely redacted internal government gibberish, just bureaucrats talking amongst themselves when I asked for financial analysis, because I wanted to know where the government came to their $200 million number. That was the number that they claimed. The PBO said it was, closer to 800 million. Nobody can tell me where they came to that $200 million number, which leads me to believe that this is going to be a $2 billion boondoggle if it ever gets off the ground, which I'm on team government ineptitude on this one. I hope that the government ineptitude sort of skewers their plan to snatch everybody's guns.
Well, I think when they make their cost estimates, they must think that they're going to put out an announcement, okay, gunnies, come and turn in your gun. And we're just like, okay, let me get my hat. They don't realize that they're going to have to do a lot of things to get the guns. The first thing they're going to have to do is pay for them. And have you noticed in our illustrious budget yesterday, not a penny earmarked for the gun confiscation. Now we're talking like many, many, many billions of dollars. This isn't going to be cheap.
Right.
Because while they might be talking about putting out, say, $1 billion in compensation. That doesn't include depots, transport, the construction, the promotion of the program. I mean, how do you do this? Like, do you send everybody a FedEx box and say, put your gun in the FedEx box? And then the FedEx guy will come and pick up your prohibited firearm. And he doesn't have a license for a prohibited firearm. But the feds will give him one. You know that.
Yeah.
And then this poor bugger takes his life in his hands by driving his FedEx truck full of deadly evil black assault rifles through neighborhoods where people would quite happily kill him with his guns. Right. Now, if you were the FedEx driver, what would you say?
I think the same thing a lot of RCMP members would say if they were asked to kick in their neighbors' doors.
No chance, right? Yeah, exactly. The whole system is fraught with stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, the only thing they can really do is mandate Canada Post to it, because that's the only thing they really have any control over. But that's a train wreck looking for a place to happen.
Yeah.
Because I know the first thing we'll do is we'll be putting the labels all over free, take as many as you want. And it will be for the box that you're shipping this thing, and it will have like, warning, deadly evil assault weapon inside. And plaster them all over the box, turn them into Canada Post tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. This isn't going to happen either, Sheila.
No. Well, and the sheer logistics of it all. So you have several provinces now, led the way by Alberta, thankfully, which remains one of the freer places in this country, that said we're not ever going to mandate our police forces, who are already struggling with rural crime and urban crime, to take them off real crimes, to kick in the doors of their neighbors, to confiscate their legally acquired property. So we've got several provinces who say our police forces are not going to cooperate in this. And then just the logistics, as you say, of it all. They have moved guns from non-restricted all the way to prohibited. You don't know who has those. How do they? I always go back to the SKS, and the SKS, because it's cheap, it's plentiful, you can get it at a gun show.
Yep.
How are you going to find all those? They think maybe there's 200,000 of those in the country. I bet it's closer to 3 times that. You don't know who has them. You don't know where they are. How do you get those? How do you go and get those? I saw on Twitter once somebody said it's like somebody who's never even seen a car making the rules of the road. That's how it feels like as a gun owner. And it is so true, where it's, you're banning things that you don't even know what they are, where they are, who owns them, what classification they're in. So I don't know how they plan to execute any of this.
Right. It's like hiring a brain surgeon to do your air traffic control regulations.
Yeah.
It's exactly like that. I mean, they're completely out of their league, completely out of their element. There's simply, I don't see any way for them to do the confiscation. But I'll tell you, if they do, no matter how they do it, you will not get a penny for your guns.
Yeah.
They're lying about this. And, if they were serious, if they were really serious about this, there would have been a money appropriation in this budget. And there wasn't anything in this budget. So I guess they're not planning on doing it this year. What a surprise.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to do this if they want to do it. They've got to appropriate that much money. It's not chump change. It's big dollars.
Well, and, I'm glad you pointed out that there was no money allocated for the gun grab in the budget. I think because it's a potential to be an election year, quite frankly. If that coalition falls apart with the NDP, I'm not sure. It seems like the NDP will apologize for any amount of corruption. But if the precarious coalition falls apart with the NDP, they're going to an election. And what I do know about gun owners is that this, for a lot of them, this is a one issue that mobilizes them to the election polls. And, it helped the Conservatives in the Stephen Harper years, especially with the advocacy of the CSSA on the gun registry. I mean, that really bolstered Stephen Harper's numbers at the polls. And I don't think the Liberals want to tangle with gun owners on a major gun grab in an election year.
No, I don't think that the Liberals have the capacity to do that right now. They're already on the ropes, and I don't think they have the ability to alienate anybody to have a chance of winning. So I'm happy about that. I think,
yeah, me too.
yeah, I think Pierre Poilievre will make a way better prime minister.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, my Labrador Retriever would make a way better prime minister.
Oh my gosh. You know, I have a top 5 dumb Liberals, and I've had to extend it to 10 or 12 lately because I can't get it. Like, there's too many in the running right now.
I understand. There isn't the capacity to do this without some very, very smart planning and without the cooperation from police services. Now, I know that well, first of all, I know for a fact that the feds have been going around to the provinces trying to get cooperation on this. And yes, Alberta has stood the ground, and that's great. Remember, Saskatchewan did it first.
That's right.
Okay. And so those two provinces are leading the way on this. And one of the things they've done, and a lot of people have poo-pooed the Alberta and Saskatchewan firearms acts, respectively, because they read them and they don't really understand the implications of what they're reading. But things in there like they're going to license anyone who is a confiscator. Okay, and then you read the qualifications that the confiscator's got to have. I mean, honestly, the Lord's going to have to send a messenger down here to read those qualifications. I mean, it's simply not going to happen.
Yeah.
You've got to have your warehouse facility a kilometer away from the road.
Good luck.
Right. But you're going to bring in trucks with guns.
Yeah.
With no road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really want to see how this actually goes down. It's not going to. And thank God we have Alberta and Saskatchewan doing this stuff. Because without them and the involvement of Minister Tal in Saskatchewan and Shandro in Alberta, without those people being involved in this, we might be up against the wall.
Yeah, I think that's really a bit of a moral of the story here is, and we saw this in the United States. I don't want to, I mean, this isn't a COVID-y show, but you saw with Ron DeSantis, he stood up against, some of the COVID restrictions. And then the other states said, you know what? Yeah, me too. Then Texas came along and South Dakota came along, and all it takes is one or two to take the slings and arrows. And then the other Me Too provinces came along too, and the Me Too territories came along too. So I think it's really important even if you're an Ontario gun owner, start cheering for Alberta and Saskatchewan. Absolutely. Because maybe they will empower your government to do that thing to stand up for you too.
That's right. And we've been releasing all the press releases that they're sending out and keeping our members informed of the changes in real time.
Yeah.
And we have not been downplaying the importance of this. Canada is a country where our Constitution says we have to have equal laws right across the entire country. Now what?
Right.
If nothing else, the feds would have to challenge it. And that's going to tie up in court for years.
Yeah.
So those two provinces are offering up a defense for firearms owners, and quite frankly, I can't express enough gratitude to them.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about just some of the idiocy I've seen at committee. So I think Pam Danoff, I think she might be number 6 on the Dumb Liberals this week, where she is talking to an Olympic sports shooter, basically saying, well, this handgun ban, it's not really going to hurt your sport because we're going to give you an exemption. And that's great for existing Olympic sports shooters or anybody coming up through the shooting sports, rifle, handgun, whatever. But it doesn't allow for new people to enter the sport, because you have to train with your with your tool before you make it to the Olympics. It was like she couldn't make it click in her head that, okay, but you might be giving an exemption to this generation of sports shooters, but it's done with them.
Well, with respect to Ms. Danoff, there's a lot of things she can't get to click in her head. One of the things that she said to me was, well, your handguns are all now worthless. I said, well, I guess that depends on who you sell them to.
Yeah.
And she didn't understand that at all. Just, right by her. When I was testifying to the committee, I said, make this analogous to NHL players. They don't fall out of trees. They require years and years, maybe sometimes into the decades, to acquire those skills and hone them to a fine enough edge to be competitive. And it's the same thing. They're not just born. Target shooters are not just born. And I think that the Liberals suffer from way, way too much Hollywood.
Yeah.
They seem to think that you can play with a handgun for 15 minutes and then be able to shoot down a helicopter with 200 yards with it. They really believe that crap.
Yeah.
They really do. And they don't understand that to hit the paper at 25 yards is an achievement.
Mm-hmm.
And it requires this. The other thing, though, that they've done is in the letter of the legislation, it says that any sport governing organization can issue a letter declaring this person to be in training for the Olympics. Any sport governing organization. Amateur Hockey League, they're a sport governing organization.
Yeah.
There isn't really a sport governing organization for the Olympics. The Shooting Federation of Canada takes this on because they do this out of their own graces. And it's a tough thing to do because they're always fighting for money and stuff like that. They can't get money like we get money where we go to angry gun owners and say, help us.
Yeah.
They can't do that. They have to go to the actual shooters themselves, say, help us get money, and then they're lobbying the feds to get pittances of money, and it's very difficult. So hats off to them for staying in that fight. But it doesn't say anywhere that they're the sport governing body for the Olympic shooting. So it can be any sport governing body. So then what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah. I'll be getting one from Rugby Canada.
Yeah, well, the CSSA is a sport governing body. We govern probably a half a dozen different shooting sports across Canada.
Yeah,
we are a shooting sports governing body. And Sheila, I'll tell you right now, if you asked me and told me that you wanted to be in the Olympics, I'd give you a letter.
Perfect, I do.
Hey, I would, because I know how good you are.
And on the other side of this, so when it comes to the grandfathering out of handguns, for me, this one is really atrocious because for many people, including my own, these are family heirlooms. Like I am in possession of my grandfather's guns. They came to me. They will likely go to my daughter, who is the marksman in the family, but they will not go to my daughter now. I have to turn them over to the state to be destroyed. And it's very difficult to make people understand that these are not just guns. These are family heirlooms. This is like me showing up and saying, oh, your grandma died, that China that you thought you were going to inherit, that is a family heirloom. No, you have to turn it over to the government, and the government's going to smash it into bits. And you're supposed to thank them for the pleasure of it all. They don't really seem to, they just see these as weapons of destruction, as opposed to a family heirloom that's been enjoyed by generations of people.
Or a historical artifact.
100%.
Yeah. I collect some historical stuff, and the thought of that stuff being put into the smelter just brings a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't imagine why any government would want to destroy this stuff, because this isn't stuff used in crimes.
Yeah.
If they really believe that they're trying to affect crime, which, by the way, they don't.
Right.
Okay? Right. This is ideological. It has nothing to do with crime, and it never, ever had anything to do with crime.
Right.
All the way back to C-68 and the whole licensing system and all that stuff, nothing to do with crime. It all had to do with making so many hurdles to firearms ownership that people would give up or not even want to try it. That's what it's really about.
Yeah.
And really, it's not about the handguns. It's not about the black rifles. It's about every single gun.
Right.
And never, ever kid yourself. You turn in your black rifles, you turn in your handguns, they'll be back for your scoped sniper rifles.
Yep.
You know, the ones you use to shoot deer and elk with, those ones? Right. They'll be back for them. They'll be back for the shotguns, because they once saw in a Hollywood movie where somebody sawed off the barrel of a shotgun and they were able to shoot a car and the car flipped right over. You know, yeah. I mean,
you know,
honestly, they're living in some kind of fantasy world.
Yeah.
But we aren't, okay? And gun owners have got to get this through their heads.
Yeah.
You cannot sacrifice another passenger out of the boat and expect the sharks to go away. It doesn't work that way. They will eventually try to get all of them. They even say that.
Yeah.
We've got documents from the anti-gun group, so that the doctors that hate gunnies, you know that group?
Yes.
Yeah. The doctors that hate gunnies have said, it's the guns. We want them all. The Coalition for Gun Control has said 2 or 3 times that their goal is to remove all guns and all guns.
Yeah.
So if you're a skeet shooter or you're a hunter, don't be fooled by this.
Yeah.
It's coming for yours too. It's just a matter of time.
Well, I think a lot of people are waking up to that. You know, when the first order in council that banned 1,500 popular models of shotguns and rifles, including a 410 bird gun that they shoehorned into there. I mean, because it was black and looked cool. A lot of people said, well, it doesn't matter. I don't really have those ones. And then they came for handguns, and a lot of people said, I don't have an RPAL, so I don't really care about that stuff, until they came for your hunting rifles. So a lot of people, I think, in the gun community have been mugged by reality, realizing that they probably should have been fighting in that first ditch instead of the third ditch where we're at right now. And I hope it balloons your membership. Because you've always been a strong advocate for legislative change and holding the government to account on behalf of the people, and not just firearms owners, because it is non-gun owners who are going to have to pay for this debacle. Yeah,
that's right. And the money that they spend on buying these inoffensive firearms off of lawful law-abiding people is money that isn't going to be spent interdicting guns at the border and getting the drug gangs taken apart.
Yeah. Or on hospitals, or employing doctors that hate gunnies.
You like that, eh?
Yeah, it's great, because that's really what they are.
That's exactly what they are. It's exactly what they are. Doctors that hate gunnies.
Now, Tony, sorry, go ahead, please.
No, it's okay.
No, I was just going to, because I promised you a 20-minute interview, and I think we're at 33 minutes. So I was just going to ask you, where can people stay in touch with the Canadian Shooting Sports Association? How do they become members? How do they get involved? Because, as you say, you are, you could help me get to the Olympics. You're a very important organization.
Well, the easiest way, go on our website. You could sign up as a member there. You can make a donation to our work up there. You can also sign up for our free e-news, which is absolutely great. It's read all over the world. We have huge circulation on it. And every week we publish all the news that's fit to print on gun ownership issues right across the world.
Yeah.
It's not just in Canada, because we think it's very important for firearms owners to have a perspective on what's going on in other countries, because there's many parallels. So we include that stuff in there too. anything of note, anything that's interesting, we put it in every week, and it's free.
Yeah, I think your website is an incredible resource. I love how it's broken down so you can search events by your own province, your own locality. You've included all your legal research, things that you're doing, different programs. Oh, the CSSA Marketplace. I'm going to be getting some new T-shirts today. I'm a big fan of your website. It's really easy to navigate, and it'll help. It helps gun owners like me stay on top of all the comings and goings of not just the catastrophe of gun rights ownership in Canada, but around the world as well.
Right. And you can always just make a call to our 1-800 number, and our staff in the office will be happy to process your membership for you.
Excellent. Tony, thanks so much for coming on the show. I'll have you back on again very soon, not years. I promise. I'm so embarrassed about that. And thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
You too.